Hello, everyone. How are we all doing? Welcome to another episode of the Truth of Therapy Sessions, episode 56. We are on our way to the 100, aren't we? We're going to get there. We're going to get there soon enough. Today, guys, I've got a guest with me, Noble from the CFR Network. This gentleman kindly invited me onto his podcast maybe 4 months ago, give or take. There, I think I'm working with guesswork off the top of my mind, but we had a great conversation. He was very accommodating, and he's a fellow Brit as well, which I enjoyed. You don't get many of those in this game. And after that wonderful conversation we had on his podcast, he has graciously accepted to come onto mine and to share with us his stories and his tales and some of the things he's learned along the way. So, Noble, how are we doing?
Wonderfilled. Good night to you, Paul, and good night to the audience.
Fantastic. Yeah, yeah. Thanks for doing this, man. I really appreciate it. Like I said, it's I want to try and do this with the Truth of Therapy sessions. Just get somebody on every week to just to share their journey, really, with how they got into this weird game we can call the Truth Movement. Your
Mm,
podcast is a little bit different from mine, from what I've seen, and obviously
yes.
you don't always just focus on conspiracy related stuff, but you more get into the nitty gritty of day to day life and the serious issues that seem to be arising for everybody. But yeah, but don't let me describe your podcast for you. Do you want to just let the guys know, what you do, what your network's all about, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah. Well, I think that was an excellent introduction in regards to your take on CFR Network, and in essence, that's a good sort of jumping point or starting point. Um, it's if I can encapsulate it into two words, it's the exploration of the human experience with the added bonuses of the shared experiences that we're going to have and have the good discussion today.
Hmm.
Some potential solutions, some options, and just some other views. Because rather than one thing about myself, I like to be challenged. I like people to challenge my ideas, my culture, my understanding, my understanding, my overstanding of pretty much everything. If I'm not confident and confident in what I believe or know to be true, then I would like someone to potentially point me in the right direction sooner rather than later. So guest wise, it's so eclectic from the various different artists, athletes, prize fighters, adult entertainers, doctors, spiritual leaders, or absolutely everybody, artists, from painters to illustrators, anybody who I feel or see some element of a creative work. If I see a value in that, I would like to expose my audience and the greater populi to what they're doing. So also I like to be an intermediary,
Hmm.
so you can discover other people and also shatter the molds and conceptions of how people may think people are.
Hmm. Yeah, well, there's certainly a lot of the assumptions about how people are in England as well. So it's probably a good idea to do that. To be to be honest, I was actually quite taken aback when you did invite me onto your show because I was thinking like, what does this guy want to do? Some guy talking about clowns on his channel. It just seemed so out of place. But when I got talking to you, it seemed
Yeah.
like you're on your own spiritual journey, and it's exactly how you said. You just seem to enjoy talking to people who just give you outrageous notions that you can think about, which is really cool. And yeah, it's what were you thinking when you invited me on to speak about the clowns? What did you think about that? Just I'm curious.
Well, I was how what's the best way? I was so intrigued with the connection to the manuscript. So he only left you basic instructions before leaving Earth,
Oh yeah.
the Holy Bible,
Hmm.
and the clowns and all of that stuff. And I was so interested. And also there was glimmers, and obviously with Sam's style of podcast, he doesn't necessarily take you to the places where I necessarily want to take you to. It's generally very format sort of driven to a point, just
Mm.
peeking behind the fourth window of sorts. So I heard a few jewels or gems, and I thought, you're perfect. I definitely want to have the conversation and explore your journey and to see how you got to the point where you are today.
Yeah, yeah. Well, again, your interview style was interesting. I don't know if anyone's listened to this because you were getting really like personal, like really deep into like
Yes.
my entire
Yeah.
life, and I don't think I've ever like opened up as much to somebody as I did with you. You had a way about you. It's like I really trust this
Yeah.
guy. I feel like I could tell him everything. Like I'm going back to when I'm going to go back to when I was 7 years old. I'm going to explain, like and it's just, and I gave
But you
basically.
know something, Paul? Paul, strangely you say that, and I'm glad you said it because it genuinely comes from people across the pond. I I have I guess a knack of putting people at ease because I will speak to someone maybe for the first time and they're telling me their whole life story, Paul. The highs, the lows, everything in between. And I'm just like, wait, we're just having the first sort of introductory call, times of, getting to know each other kind of thing. I know everything. This is strange. But I just put it down to in my younger age, like we're going back over 10, 15 years. I just thought that this is just Americans, they're just very open and that's just how they are, but clearly not.
No, no, it's just you. You're a very personable person. I think people even listening right now can hear how friendly you are in your voice, and I get it because I've had the same issue. Like all through my life at like uni and college, I attracted all the strange people, and they were always just naturally attracted to me and telling me everything, and I was their best friend within like an hour, and so I kind of
Yeah.
I understand it. You know what I mean? And yeah, it's you had the same effect on me, that's for sure. But just getting onto this then. So, what got you into this game exactly? Of because you've interviewed
Ah.
some odd people, and I think I was listening to earlier. Were you talking to one of the guys who was in the band Him? Did I hear that right? I'm
Oh,
pretty sure.
oh,
So
Jamie Deluxe, Jamie, good old Jamie. Jamie is a jewel and he's a gem of our quote unquote community. Um, a true creative. Continue, sorry.
I just know. So it's just because I remember being 13 with like my first like goth girlfriend in high school, you know? And she loved this band called Him that I knew nothing about and never really cared to look into. And then I'm here, this you just talk to this guy, and he just offhand says, "You know, I was in this band called Him," and I was like, "What? Wait, a minute. That's so obscure and just random nostalgic memories." And it's like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
But I'll let you tell your story, man. Like, how did this start for you? And in terms of like waking up to like truther topics, like and end up on channels like mine, like
Mm,
what's your journey? Can you tell a few stories there?
okay. Yeah. Well, just to touch on that latter part, synchronicity. Paul, I don't know if you've noticed yourself within your day-to-day, minute to existence on this wonderful plane of existence. The synchronicity are happening so quickly. And it's just recognizing them before, 5, 6 years ago, it would be a week before the synchronicity would happen. They're literally, the synchronicity is happening so quickly within minutes. So my journey started on a very awful period of time, very, very traumatic, traumatizing, terrifying, three T's, period, September 11th, 2001.
Hmm.
I was at work and for a very large, FTSE 250 organization, and there were television screens up, and I wasn't necessarily paying attention. I just saw that, breaking news, an airplane had hit, the Twin Towers. I was thinking, I'd visited there not 4 years ago. And then I thought, oh, well, it's just a little plane, for some crazy reason, some lunatic has come off course and hit the towers. Oh, it's nothing big. And then I get home, and then the Empress is calling me saying, "Hey, have you seen what's happening?" And then I'm like, "Oh, I've heard about it, but it's nothing major. It'll be all right. It'll be a little fire or something." And then I turn the news on and actually see what's going on. And as many people did, you thought some odd things were taking place, but you thought, oh well, the tower should still remain. There shouldn't be too much loss of life based upon the design and what's going on. And then you see this free fall activity taking place, and then you see all of this rhetoric about going to the Middle East and all sorts. And I bought it. I did buy it to a point, but I thought there's something odd about this. There's something very odd. And all credit to the Empress. She started to look online. This is obviously early days of the internet. And she stumbled across, and I can't remember the gentleman's name, but it was a French guy. Um, and he was talking about, I think he was more focused on the Pentagon. Where is the plane or something like that?
Hmm.
So had a rudimentary look at it, and this is nowhere near the era we are now, where people are making documentaries and all that kind of stuff. This is all text-based and a little bit of imagery, etc. So I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, this is nuts. But then the cognitive dissonance kicks in. Well, who would do this? This must be the people who, flew those planes, these skilled pilots who committed death-defying feats that most skilled pilots themselves couldn't actually do.
Hmm.
So then, you stumble, you search, and you find Mr. Alex Jones, and you find a whole bunch of other people. So fast forward, I then start to heavily consume every piece of alternative media I could get my hands on. So I would be going to, fringe little talks and having free DVDs passed out, or even purchase said DVDs,
Hmm.
join mailing lists to get the email subscriber list out and stuff like that. So we're talking 2002, probably March, and then we just accelerated. So it was 9/11 for the first 3-4 years, and then obviously that's the web. That was my initiation to. You knew, Noble, that things were a bit odd, but now you're not relying on the box to tell you the information. You're seeking and you are finding for self.
Hmm.
And once I had that thirst and that idea and uh, recognition of I can see a problem, I can see something's not right, I can research and I can find that wait a minute, this isn't how it actually went down, kind of thing. So then you start looking at the food, then you start looking at the medical industry, then you start to look at history, then you start to look at spirituality. So then I went on a 3-year study of most of the major religions and some of the fringe ones as well. Looking at, where should I be? I was raised a Roman Catholic. And I shunned that stuff that had the zeitgeist on, and I would repeat some of that crazy rhetoric to people. Oh, you shouldn't deal with the Bible, shouldn't deal with that stuff. It was made up, didn't you know? Jesus is, you've got Mithra and you've got all of these characters that all shared the same life as Jesus, or Jesus, or Yeshua. So I fell into that trap, and then I tried to seek um, spiritual guidance and looked at, as I say, many, many different things from Egyptology, Phoenician knowledge, and all that kind of stuff, to the indigenous religions or spiritual systems within Africa. Um, and then we fast forward. We fast forward to 2000 and where are we now? The Gregorian year of 2024. So we're going back to 2012 when the Mayan calendar, the long count calendar was coming into place. And we were all going to die apparently, or we was going to get that fifth strand of DNA, which was going to be activated. Was it fifth strand? Something crazy.
Something like
And
that.
we were all going to become superhuman. So it was around that time I started to think, actually, let me challenge myself again. We've done an exhaustive research on, historical religions, their starts, the difference between the Abrahamic faith, etc., the various denominations. Let's go back and look at the Bible. And uh, Rob Skiba,
Yeah.
Rise in Paradise. Can't believe he went so quickly,
Hmm.
and not many people have mentioned his stellar work that he did, past tense. So I was, I was on the old Blog Talk. This is Blog Talk days, this is. So I was listening to Rob Skiber and a few other bits and pieces. And then I thought, let me buy a Bible. Not the Gideon Bible, which I had, which most people in the UK will have. I thought, let me get this KJV. And then I started to study to show thyself approved. And it all started to make sense, Paul. It all started to make sense. And all of the stuff I've been researching since 2002 all started to fall together. Started to fall together in respect to you can see the trends and the patterns. You can kind of predict what's going to take place. But in regards to what's driving it, Paul, what is actually driving all of this?
Hmm.
And it's Shaitan, the devil.
Absolutely.
He is the rule and purveyor of this three-dimensional realm. Unfortunately, the systems, they're the power, that's the power source.
Hmm.
Shrouded under the guise of the Roman Catholicism and all of the rest of the divisions slash religions put in place, and then the other systems. So it was a huge journey, a long journey to get back to the point where I initially started, as say, because we wasn't taught the Bible, being a Roman Catholic. So actually going back and actually reading the books and understanding, oh, there's hidden books, are there? There's non-canonized books. Well, why aren't they in the canon?
Hmm.
I want to read them. I want to read and see where the should they be in there? Is there any value in reading the book of the Apocrypha, the Maccabees,
Hmm.
Sirach, Jasher, what the book of Enoch, which is the one that most people talk about. Why should I not read these things? And again, you read this stuff and it all lines up. It's pieces of the puzzle. You've got the outline and you can kind of see things. But with he only left you basic instructions before leaving Earth. With the experience, with the wisdom, the understanding, and with obviously help of the Most High, you can paint such a vivid picture and have the eyes to see and the ears to hear. And most importantly, Paul, is being able to manifest the knowledge given and received via that manuscript to make your life just that little bit easier
Hmm.
and get closer to the Most High.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. You know, this is certainly Satan's little season, if anything. Okay, I
Mm,
don't know where you stand on that particular theory, but right now, the world is currently under his dominion. It seems, and
mm,
it's always under Christ and God's dominion. Let's never forget that.
mhm.
But for this is like Job's time. We're Job currently, and the devil is having a. He's been given just a little bit of a looser lead on us, and he's allowed to just
Yeah.
take control and test us. And yeah, your journey sounds a lot very similar to many people's stories. And and I've heard a lot of stories over the years, and I'm after these testimonies. And your pattern is very familiar.
Mm.
You started a lot earlier than I did. Because I must have been, I must have been 15 maybe when the Twin Towers happened, something like that. And when you're that age, you do not think about these things. You just
No.
don't. You're not there. You're not there yet. You know what I mean? And I didn't really start until I was maybe 21, 22 perhaps, or something like that, really. And it was the Mayan calendar for me. It was that whole era. So
Mm.
yeah, but by that point you'd already been swimming in it for many years from the sounds of it. I like that little insight you gave there, that it was back in the days of where you'd have to hand out CDs and
Yes.
get on mailing lists and all that. Sounds pretty like classic truth of stuff. And I guess I was blessed that I came at
But
it.
there was value in it, Paul. This is unfortunately where we are at the moment. We're bombarded with so much information and data. The information becomes of no real value.
Hmm.
Having to get on the bus or call someone or meet someone at Odeon on New Street at a certain time, because if you don't meet them, there's a 10-minute window. You won't see them again for another 6 months, or maybe you'll never see them again.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I suppose there's something, like I said, the value is in it there more
Yeah.
so than the vapid, quick things we can do today with just by sending a quick email or an instant message now. So it
Mm,
kind of changes things. It changes things for the better and for the worse, though. I'm not disparaging it all, because in many ways, um, more and more people have had their eyes open thanks to the internet.
Yes.
So again, it swings and roundabouts, but at the same time, many people have also had their lives ruined and their minds closed off thanks to the internet as well. So it's a double edged sword, unfortunately. But yeah, no, thanks for sharing the story there, and yeah, I can empathize with a lot of it. I'm sure a lot of people who are listening can also empathize with the story as well. So, what made you begin the podcasting thing then, and what encouraged you to start doing that? Do you have a? I'm sure you
I'm
have
an
a
air
tale there.
sign. I'm not sure. People may be aware of the astrological stuff and all that. Malarkey, should we say? But I'm an air sign, and based upon being an air sign, that means I am a communicator. So, this is what he said. I used to, so, going back to the 2002, 2003, I slowly but surely stopped watching mainstream television, as most people do,
Hmm.
because it became infuriating that these beings would sit up there, pardon self, and say such bold-faced lies
Hmm.
and push this agenda. So I slowly started to withdraw, and so how do I replace that? I listened to music. Music was my life. It used to be a huge part of my life. That then started to take a back seat because I had lectures, 4-hour lectures to watch,
Hmm.
3-hour DVDs to watch, and then finding internet radio, podcast as they're called now. That would take up all of my time. So me being the thirsty sponge that I still am, I would call up because you would be calling in via Skype. You'd click on the button, and you'd go in and you'd be listening, and I'd have questions for. Of course, they're saying all this fantastical stuff. At one point, I was heavily into like the UFO kind of thing and
Hmm.
adoptees, and I'd ask so many questions, and I'd ask so many questions, and I'd become, in essence, a regular caller to a point where after a few months to a year, certain hosts would have me co-host with them, and this took place for a good maybe 4 years. That I would do the circuit around certain blog talk radio hosts and basically co-host or sometimes run the whole show and co-produce and do be the executive producer, quote unquote, by getting guests in and arranging the boards and all of that. So based upon that, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed doing that, but I didn't necessarily have the full creative control of how the content actually came out.
Hmm.
I'm just the I'm just, this is that's Noble from the UK. He's just there, he
Yeah.
helps out whatever we need. He gets it sorted out. So at a point I said, let me do for self and let's create something which I can have full creative control, um, and take it somewhere where most most podcasters aren't necessarily. It's very People are very stuck in a category, and I hate labels. I detest labels.
Hmm.
I just like good people. Simple as.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised you ended up being co-host on other people's podcasts because I imagine that was your personal personality coming through there, and they were like, "Yeah, let's get this guy on some more." I like the way he talks, so let's get him on. Yeah, and I guess
Mm,
so. What you were saying is, why you wanted to take more creative control over the topics that were discussed. Is that kind of what
yeah.
spurred you on?
And to have a different dialogue, a different open dialogue rather
Hmm.
than, because before it was like 60% of it was mainly getting guests to present information and then maybe have a Q&A for the last 30 minutes of the show.
Hmm.
That's cool. In certain respects that has its place to present,
Hmm.
but I want to have a conversation. I
Yeah.
want people to be in their cars driving down the M6, on the M1, on whatever road in America, Canada, wherever you are, sitting down, listening, thinking, this is my body here. Who is he talking to now? This is an excellent conversation. I love it. I got a lot from it. Or I'm infuriated. Why did he have this guy talking that kind of stuff? He didn't challenge him enough. Rarely I get any feedback like that per se, but I want people to be comfortable. I want them not to be lectured to, kind of thing. I want them to, for it to be so organic that they're receiving information that they wouldn't necessarily receive or be receptive to,
Hmm.
because it's said in a conversational way.
You know, you sound like me. Have you been listening? Have you been stealing my scripts? I think you have. Have you? No, I agree with you. I absolutely agree with the method there. And it's something I kind of, and maybe you can appreciate this because obviously you've been in the game for a lot longer than I have. You know, pushing on 2 decades here. You know, but when I first got into the conspiracy game in 2012, 2011, 2012, and I couldn't help but feel like the people, the characters in the game already presenting the information were a little bit too sensational,
Mm,
a bit over dramatic, a bit over the top, fear, fear, fear type videos. You know,
yep.
with epic, destructive Requiem for a Dream music playing in the background while meteors were smashing into the earth videos and all these type of things. And there wasn't much of this conversation, people actually genuinely talking about their real thoughts on the matters
Yeah.
rather than just screaming to the world how everyone should be scared because the end's near or something like that. And I wanted to hear more conversations, so I
Mm,
in a way I kind of had to do it myself.
yeah.
And I found, you know, presenting the information this way, I feel, helps people accept it a little bit more. Because
Mm,
I always had this, I had this phrase when it came to conspiratorial information, especially back then. It's the right information, but it's in the wrong hands. They don't really know how to handle it. They're not. It's like delicate, you know what I mean? You've got to handle
yeah.
it with care and be careful, or you'll break it, and then you'll know you won't be able to share it with anybody. And I
Mm,
felt like a lot of these early videos were really pushing people away rather than bringing them closer to wanting to know the truth. Because it's kind of the sad thing is, it's kind of people don't care about whether or not it's the truth necessarily. They don't care about that. And people don't buy products just because they're really good products. They buy it because it's been sold to them by a person, you
yes.
know, and it's the person they're buying into. It's
Hmm.
it's it's the way it's presented that they're buying into. You know, it's
Yes.
all about the marketing at the end of the day, and that's just how people work, and it's really sad, you know, that that's how people's minds work. And you know, I was willing back in the day to just listen to anything and take it for what it was and leave the bad, and it wasn't an issue for me. But I saw so many people I was trying to share the truth with watch these videos I just saw and go, "What is this? This is nuts." You know, like, and I could, it wasn't helping me help other people, you
Yeah,
know. So it's kind of, so I realized this needs remarketing in a way.
it
This, you
does.
know, and that's kind of what I started my channel for, Understanding Conspiracy, was to present the information in a way that was cool, calm, collect,
Mm,
funny, attractive, you know,
yes.
bring people in and more personable. And
Yes.
I don't, did you feel the same? Did you, you know, and I guess you took the
Yeah,
same style in a way.
definitely. I mean, you also, unfortunately, let's lay it all out on the table. You have and you still have people where it's just about the coins, Senor.
Hmm.
It is not about the information. It's not about the upliftment of fallen humanity, or even mankind at that. It's about presenting salacious, just, with a little bit of information in there, which has some validity in it. But ultimately, we've got the charcoal toothpaste. Come on, guys, it's 30% off. You got to get it. Stocks are running low. Come on, guys. It's not about it's about keeping the broadcast on. Come on. If you want Paul and me to stay on the broadcast, just buy the toothpaste. I have never in my life, or never, and I never would do such a thing. Never would I do such a thing. It's disingenuous. If you have created a product, or you provide a service, by all means, market that and sell that. But when the information is second tier to the product placement,
Hmm.
and yeah, we got to take a break because what we got to do is we've got to talk about this.
Get your bug out bag
We
now.
got
Don't forget your colloidal silver.
oh my god, that was the thing back in the day. That was
Yeah,
colloidal silver.
you remember that?
I was I was I was very tempted. Paul. I was very tempted. I was very much on the verge of purchasing, spending my £39 plus. Back then, it would have been like almost the same in shipping from America because obviously no one over here was doing anything like that. And then yeah, the Most High is that, he is just so wonderful. The things that he can do. I mean, just creating us and the thing, the ability for us to be obviously within the UK, but we're not next door neighbors. We're not in the same room, but to be able to utilize the technology, as we know, there's nothing new under the sun, nothing whatsoever. But this is an excellent example, as you say, about technology moving forwards, swings and roundabouts, good, the badly, and the ugly, but we're utilizing it for the good.
Well, I'm trying. I'm trying to. We're trying to.
Yes.
But like I said, it's like when the product outweighs the information. Because I've heard podcasts, like you said, and the first it's like a 2 hour podcast, let's say, and these are like let's say these are Christian truthers, and they spend the first 30 minutes talking about what they're going to talk about, and then they spend another 20 minutes having a break from talking about what they were going to talk about to then
Yeah.
sell you a product
Yeah.
based on fear mongering events of what's to come soon and how you need to be prepared. And
Yes.
they're trying to sell you 5 different products based on that. A survival kit guide,
Mm.
rations, food supplies, whatever it is, a bug out bag, like you said. Don't forget your parasite cleanse while you're at it. All these other things, and make sure to get a water filter that you need as well, and also a wallet that'll keep your cards and your phone safe from
Yeah.
signals or something.
This is it.
And then they spend maybe half an hour, like you said, actually talking about the topic, very vague and
Yes.
loose, and not really going that deep into it. And then,
Mm.
like I said, maybe the last 20 minutes is taking, I don't know, announcing what they're going to be talking about next week or something like that.
Yeah, if you've got the format down, sir, you've nailed it. That's exactly what is being done. And it's unfortunately some people are built for this, Paul. They're built not for this. Well, yeah, for this and for that. Everybody cannot, you know, eat at the table. Some people have to wait outside until it's their time. Some people have to be scammed. They have to invest all kind of monies into these crazy programs or these lectures and presentations. They have to spend thousands of pounds, dollars, euros before they wake up and realize, oh, sugar, this is all folly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm externalizing everything when it should all be internal in regards to that element of it.
Mm-hmm.
The externalization is maybe looking out for the creator of it all,
Well,
trying to
yeah.
search for that source, maybe, rather than looking for a man or a woman to be that source.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's gatekeeper attitude, isn't it? These people are clearly trying to guard the information and position themselves as an authority over truth, and the truth goes through me first as a filter, or else you're deceived. Is kind of their usual message or attitude. When, like you
Mm,
said, anybody can pick up the book and read it for themselves. The gift of salvation is free for anybody to take, and it's easy to find and discover and read
yes.
about. I don't think you have to follow a person to get to that. Um, you know, no man before God, as it is.
Mm,
It's very simple, and again, it's a message I think a lot of people need to keep remembering, and I always try to reiterate this in every show I do now. This is at the end of the day the only reason we have a conspiracy is because of what Jesus Christ did for us on that cross, or Yeshua Hamashiach, or whatever you want to call it, whatever name in whatever language you want to use,
yes.
but he did it. He's done this thing for us. Go and find out what he did, because that's why we have a conspiracy. That's what's really going on here. That's the truth. And like I said, everything else is just kind of detail.
Yeah.
And what because my audience is not always necessarily Christian, although I would call myself a Christian truther now. I wasn't always one. And I
Mm,
understand again. I was in that new age world, similar to you in a way, in that
yes.
zeitgeist way of viewing it all. I get all that, because I was there, and I understand there are many people still there, and
Yes.
as you were just alluding to, some people need to go through all that deception first to learn why it's a deception.
Yeah.
It's a long journey, and some people get there quicker than others. So I'm very forgiving of them in a way, but
Yeah.
it's kind of I'm hoping I can present that truth in a way where it won't trigger their preconceptions of what Christianity is. because there's a lot of, especially in
There
England,
is.
it's different for British people, and maybe the Americans don't understand this and listen, but you'll understand. It's and pardon my French, but for most people in England, it's gay to talk about the Bible.
Yeah,
That's literally how they see it. It's like that's just stupid. You're a Bible basher. Shut up. Why are you even talking about that?
yeah.
It's as simple as that. They don't think about it. They will laugh at you for even bringing it up. It's kind of
There's no
like,
relevance, Paul.
yeah, and so for me, it's like how do I bridge that gap? You know? What
Yeah.
the and street preaching doesn't work. I've seen it. I followed street preachers. I've been there with them, just observed, and got close and got to know them. And no, they push people away. What they do does not make anybody want to read the Bible or get to know God or understand what it
It's
means to be saved.
it's a spectacle. It's a spectacle, and clashes of egos always take place in
Oh
those type
yeah,
of scenarios.
absolutely. And just typical boring church sermons on a Sunday don't do it either.
No.
That's not doing it for people. So I'm hoping this will do it for people, and they can get to know that okay, so Christians aren't all just boring weirdos
Mm,
necessarily. They're actually
mm.
people with opinions and personalities and thoughts and theories and ideas. And I'm hoping that's bridging the gap. I get messages telling me it's bridged the gap for people, so I think it's working.
Mhm.
But I
I,
don't
I
I don't
I could
always know.
concur. I could concur. No, from obviously, I do not manicure your contents there. So from the outside looking in, no, I can see. And when I'm in the chat and I see the conversations in the chat and stuff, and just the content itself, I can see, because I like to remove myself from a personal situation per se, and just look at it from the most basic, keep it simple, stupid, as I always say.
Hmm.
How can can this make an effect? Yeah, of course it can make an effect, because no one would necessarily put your content, depending, and let's say the initial content reference the Nephilim clowns and that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
No one's putting a biblical connection to that. No one at all. And then listening to the content and listening to the other bits of content, okay, I never thought about that. And that's what it's about. It's about taking people from somewhere to somewhere and connecting those dots,
Hmm. Yeah,
because everything.
the clown thing's a weird one. I did not expect it to connect and bring so many people to God as it has. When I first started talking about it, it was just an interesting subtopic for me about Nephilim.
Yeah.
And it's but I get messages from people telling me that that was the thing that got them to Christ. Because and I guess it's weird because because clowns are such a universal cultural thing.
Indeed.
And you don't have to be religious to talk about clowns or enjoy clowns or be a part of clown media prior. So when they hear somebody like me giving context from a biblical perspective of why
Yeah.
you even have clowns,
Mm.
I think it made a connection there which I wasn't prepared for it to make for a lot of people. Yeah. And it's one of those moments, where you have to wonder like it was this is God's hand behind this in some way, and I don't like saying that because I'm not trying to say I'm not a prophet or something. You know what I mean? I've never liked to say God spoke to me or anything, but it feels like I've inadvertently ended up somehow an expert on clowns, and it's bringing people to God to my
Well,
surprise. You
let,
know what I mean? It's
let
very
me ask
odd.
let me ask you a question, Paul. Would you subscribe to the Most High writing our book of life and knowing exactly what we're doing and what's to take place?
Yeah, yeah. I think this is the free will argument, really, isn't it? Do we have free will or not, or is our script already written? I think it's a bit of this and a bit of that.
Mhm.
I think God has the perfect script written for us, and it's up for us to whether or not we want to align ourselves to it.
Exactly,
So,
exactly. So yes, no, you're not a prophet per se in a biblical sense, but it was ordained, it was written, the path was written, and you have chosen at this stature of your life to take up the mantle and to present the information, which, as you said, have had testimony saying they have come back to Christ or come to Christ based upon your contents.
yeah. Well, it predominantly it was mainly because people of certain cultures didn't realize that what they were venerating were symbolically representations of Nephilim.
Mm,
Yeah, and they've never had an explanation given to them before. They never really noticed that every country has the same thing.
yeah.
And they
Well, look,
didn't. It's interesting. Yeah. So go ahead.
as a Catholic, I have never even heard the term Nephilim, Nephal, Raphaim. I
Mhm.
hadn't heard any of those. That's alien to me. That sounds like literally aliens, Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah.
Until you get older and you surround yourself with other people, people who are older than yourself, people who have traveled, who have got experience, you start to see the world for what it is. It is as plain and simple. And my advice to everybody is to get out of that box. Please get out of that box. Experience life to the fullest. We're surrounded by so many different people, good, bad, ugly, indifferent. We have to have these experiences to build ourselves up to where we are today. All of the successes, all of the commiserations, all of the locking ourselves in in the bedroom, like flipping out, I can't believe that's happened, or she's left me, he's left me. But we're here today and we're in a better place.
That's it.
Seasons and reasons.
It's a lot of people. Obviously, you can kind of get in there a little bit on the major contention a lot of people tend to have with God. Why does God allow bad things to happen? You know, and it's kind of you'd be bored if there was a life where everything was perfect and he controlled every aspect of it. You would not be happy with that, and I think a lot of people don't realize just how much they would hate it if everything was perfect all the time. And if God was fully
Mhm.
controlling you all the time and
Yeah.
dictating what you can and cannot do without choice, and it's kind of what I think what humans would do is they'd find a way to make things complicated, and I think that's what Adam and Eve did. You know, in a way, they found a way
Yeah.
just to make it more complicated. And again, that's so saith Paul. That's not what the Bible says. You know, that's just me. That's just me making a humorous observation, guys. Don't take that as gospel truth. Okay, I'm not doing that, but that's kind of my first go to. And again, I thank most for most of the negative in my life. At the time, you know, it was devastating when certain things happen.
Oh yeah.
But you realize, you know, I told you my story about how I ended up leaving my old workplace. You know, I got attacked
Mm,
by the member of the public. I was being harassed by people at work and abused and used in all horrible ways, you know. And I would say those 5 years of my life were hell as well as a blessing in many ways. It was a bit of both.
yeah.
But for all the times it was hell, I realized I am a much wiser, stronger, better person for going
Yes.
through it, you know. But at the
Mm,
time, you know, I was losing sleep. I was terrified. I had a baby on the way. I thought I was going to lose my job, and all these. It was so scary, you know. And
mm.
you're in this state of mind where it's horror and doom and gloom. Why me, you know? And it's easy to play the victim in those moments, sure. But
Very easy to get into that state of helplessness. Like,
yeah,
what about the Most High? Well, help me out, man. Like,
yeah.
what's going on?
Well, in many ways, you know, my prayers were answered because my wife got me through it in ways I just cannot thank her enough for, you know. And I made a point of it in our wedding speech after it all, you know, that
Mm,
it's kind of we got through it and we're better for it now, and I'm in a much better position for it. But at the end of it all, here I am a year and a half later, you know, and it's kind of
yeah,
what seems bad, which you could shake your fist at God for at the time. Just wait is my
yeah.
advice. Let's just see how this
Mm.
pans out because you'll be surprised where it's going, you know.
This,
And I guess people want to hold on to the worldly path that they've carved out for themselves that brings them nothing but pain and misery. And you'll find, you know, if God's constantly nudging you to go towards His path for you, what He's got
yeah,
planned, and you realize once you take that leap of faith, dude, this is better than anything I had mapped out for myself. You know, this is exactly what I wanted, in fact. Why was I
yeah,
fighting it for so long?
yeah,
And I see, I understand what I'm saying there for a lot of people falls on deaf ears because it's like, oh, shut up, Paul. Everything just worked out for you. It's not always that simple for everybody, you know. But I would take it takes
but it
courage.
isn't simple, Paul.
No,
You've taken like a very, like, what, 2 minutes to say that, but that was a long, hard 5 years, man.
exactly. It's not. It doesn't happen overnight. No, you know. And again, it's taken me what a decade since being saved to fully drop all my addictions as well. You know, I quit nicotine at the start of the year last year. So I'm
Excellent.
and I think it was July, so we're coming up on a year ago now. But that was my final one, you know, and that didn't happen overnight either. And that was a long struggle with many other things, you know. It's
Mm,
I don't know what I'm rambling on a bit here now. And then anyway, this is about you, Noble. So let's switch this around a bit. You know, I've got a
come
question.
on.
I've got a question
Yes.
for you, which is kind of what I like to get into in these truth or therapy sessions. Try to get
Hmm.
meta about what it means to be a truther, for lack of a better phrase. I don't know what to call us really, but one thing I want to know is what major issues did you bump into when trying to tell friends and family and loved ones these things? Um, because this is a make or break situation for a lot of people's relationships. This talking
It
about this type of
is.
stuff, and it's
It is.
a lot of people have traumatic stories of it just blowing up in a disastrous way, and they lose everything and everyone around them, And I like people to tell me their traumatic, disastrous, explosive moments. So go and tell me yours. What happened?
Um, I don't think it is. Let me just rattle my brains. Is there anything been explosive? Um, okay, harsh. Let's say harsh. Nothing majorly explosive. But what I would get, as most people can relate, you've got a zeal. And now I'm not necessarily talking on the spiritual path
Mhm.
and and connecting with the Most High. I'm talking about when you're waking up to it all. So I would come like every Saturday. We'd all go to my mother's. So the siblings would come, nieces, nephews, etc. I'm coming with my portable DVD player, and I've got at least 5 DVDs in there. And I'm just waiting for someone just to say just one single word. Here we go. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Let's watch this because that will explain what you just said there. And I'd hook it up to the television. There you go. Press play. And after 2 minutes, they're all talking. I'm like, yo, you come on, you're missing the detail. It's only like an hour and a half. We don't need to watch all of it, but And then I would hear, shut up. We don't want to hear none of these crazy stuff. You're on the internet too much. You need to stop all that. This is reality. That's the internet. It's not real. If it was real, it'd be on the television, Noble. Why isn't it on the television if this stuff's real? Like you're saying, wait a minute. The doctors, they take like 7 years, dentists and stuff, and they prescribe fluoride. You're giving us documentaries and telling us fluoride's bad for us. You've lost your mind, you crazy. I had that. I'm known as the crazy uncle.
Oh yeah.
But of late, especially when the zombie apocalypse, and I won't go into too much detail, but we all know what I'm referring to.
Mm.
Um, I had so many people who said I'm a crazy old coot, saying, "What's your opinions on all of this? What do you think? Please do tell." And so I obviously provided the information and allowed them to either drink or to do something else. And unfortunately, I would say at least 60% of them, they took it in and they made, and this is the odd thing. No, this is just the wonders of humanity. People can make the right noises and they can say all wonderful things, Paul, and they can profess, well, I'll take this into podcasting and truther and Christianity. They can sound and look on the veneer like they are literally walking on water, like Yeshua HaMashiach. Like they're perfect. Like everything is everything. But actions speak louder than words. Showing and proving is way different to talking.
Yeah.
So we had conversations and they spoke and they said, blah, blah, blah. That makes so much sense. Yes, no way on earth, based upon our conversation, would I even entertain such folly. But fast forwards, and multiple times they've sought help, etc., etc. And it's like, there's only so much you can do. And what
Yeah.
I've realized, the big thing for me is knowing when to stop. And now it's not knowing when to stop, it's knowing when to start. I don't engage this form of conversation or this level of conversation until it presents itself to me.
Yeah.
I I went for so many years, Paul, just go in and go. I'd have literally in the car, like, I used to have, I don't know, maybe 20 plus DVDs with just loads of different content on there, depending on what level of knowledge base there was out there. Okay, have these two DVDs, have a look at that. That will get your knowledge based up. If it was a learner, here you go, have this DVD. And then it got to a point, as I said, where you can lead them to the water, but you cannot make them drink. Allow them to get to a point or get somewhere, and then meet them there. So it may not be trying to help them with the food industry or the medical industry. It may be helping them financially. Like,
Mm.
oh, didn't you know that you could do this? So not even getting into like the fiat system and the petrochemical industry. No, we don't need to do that. We can just give them practical knowledge to enable them to financially be better off. And then once you've solved that problem, hey Noble, so that crazy stuff you was talking about 10 years ago. A lot of that stuff, I didn't tell you, but a lot of it came to pass, I'm like, yeah, well, so what's your thoughts on this? And there we go. And then you give them the old Bible or you give them this, and then the ball starts to roll.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you're right. That's one of my major tips as well, which I try and tell people is learn when to shut up. There's a, there's a time and place for these things, and again, no one was ever convinced by beating them over the head with something, and it's kind of they have to come to you first and ask, and it may take years before they come to you and ask,
Yeah.
but if you were tactical enough not to burn that bridge, but make it clear that you know a thing or two,
Hmm.
then when things do come to pass, they will eventually come and ask a few questions, and I've had it happen to me as well. Yeah, some sage advice from yourself there. Absolutely, and I thought it's funny now. I've got to that point too where I'm past all the zeal, and and it is like that when you wake up, though, isn't it? You want to tell everybody.
Yeah.
You want to get out there and you want to spread the truth and you want to wake
Hmm.
everybody up and
Yeah.
you shake them awake, slap them around the face, say, "Do you
Yeah.
see? Look over there. Do you see what I see? You need to. You need to know what's going on. You're being deceived. Don't be a sheep."
Yeah.
It's kind of,
Yeah.
and you have that attitude, don't you? And it took a long time, but eventually I figured it out through constant hitting myself up against brick walls that some people are just not supposed to know this stuff.
Hmm.
Um, and when it's their time, it's their time. It's kind of what, let go, and
Yes. And that's the hardest thing, Paul. It took me years. Look, I'm not the finished article. Nowhere near the finished article. Most high willing, I have another 30 plus years on this wonderful plane of existence. And I don't think I'll ever be the finished article because it's impossible. I'm constantly going to be learning, which you should be. And I always say it, try and learn at least one thing new a day. At least one new thing a day. Challenge yourself, whether that be, learning a greeting in a language. That was one thing I started off doing, is learning a greeting every day in another language. Didn't last very long, but it's just challenge yourself ultimately. That's what it's about. Because getting back onto the spiritual path, I've noticed before being, I mean, I always knew that there was a creative force. Obviously, I still don't have a obviously there's the tetragrammaton with no vowel placements, etc. But I knew that there was something. I didn't necessarily link it directly back to the Bible. I knew that there was a creator of the Bible, but I was just real kooky back in, real kooky. I had all kind of thoughts and visions of, oh yeah, there's a creator, and it's like a giant kind of fishbowl kind of thing, like the snow globes kind of thing. And there's just a guy, a creator force, and he's just got loads of snow globes everywhere. Just yeah, this is what I'm gonna do with this snow globe, and I had all kind of little different bits and pieces, but yeah, getting to that point and realizing the the connection and the spiritual warfare, the battles, etc., and protecting yourself and guarding yourself and understanding energy, um, and doing as much as you can to do unto others as others had do unto you.
Mm.
You know, try and your best to be the best person you can be, affecting as much change as you can in your immediate vicinity.
Yeah. No,
And then I
absolutely.
noticed that the brick walls that I used to face became little speed humps that you can go over in third gear, Paul.
It's an
You
apt
know,
analogy. I like that.
the battles and the challenges. Like how's it going on? Oh man, you never guess what. No, how's it going on? Well, wonder feels absolutely wonder feels. It's just like, oh, this has happened. This is what we need to do. That's it. Oh, woe is me. Oh, poor, you never guess what? I've got to change my two tires on the car. It's going to cost the £200 each. Oh my God, God, I don't know what I'm going to do. Oh, woe is me. No, you've got a saving fund, right? Because you're smart enough to know that your vehicle, things happen in it. So you should have a little saving account saying vehicle. Yeah, here you go. I got 2 grand in there, man. Let me just, I'll pay the tires. Yeah, not a problem.
There's that old verbiage, isn't it? A failure to prepare is preparing to fail.
Exactly.
And it's funny you say that because um, I'm terrible with planning and organizing money. I am. I just said I don't think about it. I just don't. But my wife is a serious planner,
Yeah, man.
and she has all our money in these perfect pots for every scenario you could ever imagine, already pre-planned and covered for the next year or two. You know what I mean? And it's kind of so. I am now in that safety net zone where if my car does break down, it's all right. We already have a savings pot for that. It's already
Yes.
sorted. We've already
Yeah.
budgeted for it for the year. It's kind of and it's kind of I'm so thankful for that because it's what I needed. I
Yes.
needed that and having that done, like you say, it the precious kind of the money is a big problem for a lot of people. Don't get me
Of
wrong.
course.
It's
Major.
it's one of the major issues for a lot of people, and it's what stops you from being able to feel free enough to have the time to think about these type of things we're trying to talk about today. So if you can get that sorted first, then yes, you really are helping your mind relax to the point
Mm,
where you can be open enough to start thinking about other things outside of immediate survival.
yeah.
Because that's where they want
Yeah.
us, isn't it, at the end of the day? They
Yeah.
want us in that mode of constant survival. How am I going to pay the next bill? You
Mm-hmm.
know, and it takes work on our behalf at the end of the day. It's like I said, forward plan and to think about that money, make sacrifices too to have the money there spare, and think about what may come and what's coming forward. So that's definitely valuable information you just shared there, and again, a positive attitude can go a long way as well.
It's look. It's the only way, Paul. It is the only way. How you doing today? Yeah, I'm not bad. You notice, us over here, the Brits. We respond. Oh, I'm not bad. What does that mean?
So
We speak.
you're not good then.
Exactly. Like, come on. And though again, when you wake up, I'll use the full analogy as I always do. When you stir, 'cause you don't just wake up, do you? You stir first.
Hmm.
You stir. You blink your eyes. You adjust your eyes to the light. You might wipe your eye. Yawn, stretch, whatever you do, and then you start to get up out of bed, innit? This is all a process. This is all a process. And life is a process. You have to, and the key thing, I wanted to go back to that sacrifice
Hmm.
in the times we're in at the moment, especially in the UK, where it is ridiculous what they're doing to us. I don't, I am, my heart goes out to the people who are on benefits and stuff, like the real poor people. And I say that genuinely, the real poor people, not the people who are on benefits who are taking the liberties.
Hmm.
The real poor people who are having like got the meters, they got, it's like 15 odd pound to rent them damn things.
Hmm.
And then they've got to put the like a minimum of £10 in. I'm sure you can't put like £2 of credit in and all that. That wouldn't even go anywhere anyway, based upon how high the utilities is. But look at where they are. they're in a place where sacrifice. I don't know how much more sacrificing these poor souls can do.
Oh, absolutely. There's that too. Yeah, maybe we can get into that actually for the second half of the show now because we have gone over an hour. But the absolute state of the UK right now
Mhm.
in every facet and even the world. It's not this isn't isolated just to the UK, you know, every country has the same issue. It's getting bad. Like it's a slow burn creeping type of bad as well where
Yeah.
it's just a little bit every month to the
Hmm.
point where we're in boiling water and we never noticed,
Yes.
you know, and never mind the fact that people are just dropping dead like flies, getting cancer just out of
Yes.
nowhere for some unknown, bizarre reason we're not allowed to speculate or think about, you know. It's just
Hmm.
it's and you know the NHS is always at capacity, it seems, even though they're practically empty, you know, and it's kind of something's off. I think we can feel it in the air, can't we? I
Yeah.
mean, you talk to a lot of people. You know, you have a lot of back and forth. What's like the major issue you've noticed going wrong right now in let's talk about British culture specifically. You know, let's bring this to our own world. You know, and maybe give an insight to our American audience.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, this is a mirror image because I have the same talking points, and one of the last guests I had went straight to this the migrant thing.
Hmm.
It's beyond ridiculous that it's like a multi-pronged attack. It's replacement migration, immigration, illegal immigration, migration, all of that stuff. Burning passports, all this kind of weird stuff, overrunning towns, closing hotels down, 4 or 5 star hotels, little small 2 star hotels, bread and bread. They're taking the P, and then that drain on the resources. Then you go to your local doctor's surgery, and pretty much 90% of the people in there don't speak English.
Hmm.
You go to a supermarket, you go to a town center, you go to Brum Town Center, let's keep it very local, and you go to be served, or you're walking around and you think, oh, this, and then they'll talk. And oh, so you're not a Brummie. You're not from England.
Hmm.
You're from Czechoslovakia. You're from Poland. You're from and look, it's all good when people are coming over here legally, but it just seems very odd that you just don't hear black country accents hardly anymore, Birmingham accents, Mancunian accents. You just don't. You just foreigners everywhere. Unless you
Yeah.
actually go to like the local spot and be around the locals. If you go to the town centers and stuff, it's proliferated with just non-native people.
Yeah, I mean, I equate this because obviously you've got to get careful with the algorithm. So I equate this to the work of the multicolored collective,
Mhm.
and that's an umbrella term for many facets of multicultural, diverse,
Mhm.
tolerant type people. You know, who are pushing these type of forward agendas on us. But these agendas go way higher than even on the surface level. You know, this isn't a liberal, lovey, lefty issue that's causing these
No.
problems. This is a targeted attack. This
Yeah.
is done on purpose, and it's kind of it's typical you can't talk about these things or you're a racist. It's usually the go-to slur,
Mm,
and I think that's wearing pretty thin now. I think
very.
it's got to the point now where it's like this has nothing to do with race. This is
No.
culture. This is something
Yes.
else. You know, this is way beyond this now, and it's kind of it's all well and good people coming, like I said, to our country legally and providing and having a net benefit to our country.
Hmm.
But like you said, hotels have been emptied out and then
Yeah.
filled with migrants that are supposedly fleeing war-torn
Mm.
circumstances, but they're not. They're economic migrants. They're here for the money.
Yes.
They're here for the
Yes.
money. It's as simple as that. They did not flee disaster. Okay, they came because we have an extremely lax benefit system,
Very.
and a lot of people don't. It's different in every country has their own immigration issue, and I know America have their own issues with Mexico crossing the borders for other reasons now, and but for us it's simply it's all economical more than anything. It's because we give away a lot of free money. We have this. Britain's weird. We're like half socialist, half capitalist.
I know it's the oddest situation, isn't it?
We're schizophrenic with what system we have. We're both, and
Mm,
because of that, it's just a house that can't stand. There's no stability. It's just a constantly collapsing house of cards that we keep trying to rebuild, you know. And it gets a little bit smaller each time.
Yeah.
And you know, the obvious solution that a lot of that our government has is we'll just build more houses. It's kind of what? What do you mean? We have like people who've like have lived here for like I don't know 10 generations who are
Yeah.
natives to Britain who are
Yeah.
homeless, who,
Homeless,
who
exactly.
or can't even get on the property ladder,
Mm.
it's not that like there's not enough space necessarily or not enough homes. That's putting a band-aid on the issue. You're letting too
Yeah.
many people in.
Simple
Like
as.
it's
Simple as.
like you know it's like where we have this cut artery and we're just losing all of our blood,
Mm.
and it's kind of like, oh well, just put more blood in him,
Yeah.
forget the wound. You know, we'll just like just
Excellent.
keep a constant supply of blood going into that vein there, and hopefully you should keep him going while it's pouring out this side. You know, and that's all. That's like the solution. And
No, no, the final solution is you catch that blood that's coming out the wound and pump it back in.
yeah. It's and all the while the wound gets more and more infected, and you get weaker and weaker
Mm.
as a nation, you know. And again, you got to be careful because people say, well, you know, it's xenophobic or racist to point out the obvious and all these type of things. And maybe YouTube's not really the platform for that, but hands down, I agree with you. This is one of our biggest issues because we are a tiny island nation.
Tiny. Yeah.
We're highly limited in resources and space. Like we just
Mm.
are. We're already pretty much like at capacity for most of our land is built on, and we have like the Lake District maybe or Cumbria, you know,
Yeah.
and we've got like a swaths I suppose of hilly land which will you could eventually build on and destroy, but
Well,
it's not
no,
it's not as inhabitable as it looks when you
not at
actually
all.
see it's high altitude, thin air, high winds, torrential weather type places, you know, that we don't live for a reason. And what we do have is cramped, you know,
Very much.
and you're in Birmingham, aren't you, I believe?
Yeah.
I'm in the northwest near Manchester, you know, in that area, Liverpool, Manchester, Preston region. And it's we have the same thing here as well in terms of unfettered immigration kind of filling the place up, and it is the cities. They're getting like packed and dense. It's impossible to drive around them,
Oh my
and it's
God.
kind of. I remember it just in the '90s as a kid. They weren't like that.
No.
They were not like that. And that was not even that long ago, you know. And again, it's like the burden that puts in on the NHS, our National Health Service,
Hmm.
that's
Hmm.
even tenfold. Like I have to. I mean, you don't care about this when you're a kid because you don't have health problems. Okay, but now I'm getting slightly older, right? And
Yeah.
I passed the age of 27 threshold where
Indeed.
your body starts to decay all of a sudden from that age onwards, and suddenly you have problems, you know. And you know, people know follow me. I've got this hereditary genetic disease now, okay, called hemochromatosis, and I was in a bad way for a long time before I found out what was causing it, and I had to go through the system, which is the
Mm.
NHS, and the waiting list I was put on.
Yeah.
I had to fight tooth and nail, harassing secretaries just to talk to doctors, just to get them to force me to go through faster to get the solution done quicker.
Yeah.
Because the solution I needed, which was to have my blood drained to get the iron out of my body, was necessary because I was at such high levels that my organs are dying. Either
Wow.
you get it out of me now, or you potentially killed me. You've given me cirrhosis of the liver, you know. But they were like, well, you know, we've got a 6 month waiting list. I'm like, no, you do not. You are getting me in right now. You know, and I was like
Yeah.
demanding it. Like, and this is the thing, because I'm young. It's like, oh, you'll be fine. It's like, no, I'll be fine if you deal with the problem now. But if you make me wait a year, then I may have a serious problem. And then you'll be dealing with me for longer, which will put more stress on the NHS, which will cost more, right? So it's kind of,
Yeah.
but they don't see it that way, and
But do they? It's almost like planned well, it's not almost, it's planned destruction
oh yeah,
because prevention is better than cure, right? Well, wait a minute, this is young. Let's get this guy in straight away. Wait a minute, let's get him done, get him in and out, and let's do it in that respect. Oh no, let's drag it out as long as possible. Trustfully, Paul will manifest or present additional symptoms, and
mhm.
then we can give him to another consultant. He
Oh,
can charge his 250 quid an hour. Voila, Tankai. Let's continue to feed the system. And then what we can also do, as well as doing that, we can increase crime, and we won't go to retail shoplifters. Oh, they're just shoplifting. Don't worry about that. It's just your livelihood. Don't worry about that. We're not going to attend. So they're going out in masses and they're just taking things from supermarkets, from stores, retail outlets with no fear of anything. They
No.
can just do it. You can go up and down the town centers and smoke weed, and you can do crack cocaine. You can do mamba, all kind of stuff, and it's just open and bare. There's the streets, Paul, in Birmingham, Soho Road specifically, where it's they want to turn the lights off at night to save money, sorry, on the electricity because Birmingham City Council is bankrupt.
Hmm.
It's a crime-ridden area. There's been multiple murders, again by people not even from this country, are going
Hmm.
around killing people down there.
Yeah, but you won't hear about that on the news.
Oh no!
Yeah, they don't point the cameras on those things. Never. I mean, never mind the grooming gang situation as well in the
Oh
UK, which is also just disgusting. And it's a culture thing.
yes,
It's an importation of a foreign culture that is not compatible with our ideals. And the burden of all of these things, and never mind just the terrible economic policies which our governments have with every cycle, no matter which side it gets in, they just get us
yeah,
further and further into debt. They sign us
yes.
up to more and more bureaucratic restrictions from foreign governments like the
Hmm.
EU. Even though
Yep.
we're out of it, we're still in line with everything the EU does.
Yes.
So we're out of the EU in name only. It's that type of thing. It's kind of
Mm.
every, this is another thing as well. It's true Orwell, or it's true like Communist Party stuff. What Solzhenitsyn was writing about. It's like we know they're lying. They know we know they're lying, and they know that we know that they know they're lying. But they'll keep lying to us anyway. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And
Yeah.
still go along with the lie, even though we both parties know all of it's made up. And it's something about the British culture, isn't it? We're very let's just go along to get along. Let's just
Exactly.
let's no. We know it's tough, but we don't complain. We know we're a nation that doesn't complain unless it's about the weather or cues,
It
and that's it
is.
really. That's as far as it goes. You don't
I
really.
w- I
I don't
wonder. I wonder if the generation of World War I had access to this information, if they would be as happy to get along. I don't think they would. I think if
know.
they had access to understand and overstand what was actually being done, even if we can fast forward to World War II, they would be saying, "Get that? What? No, yeah, hey, matey, you coming out of there? All this is stopping. We're gonna we're gonna do the strikes, all that stuff. We're gonna do no non-working, non-participation. That they'll do whatever necessary that they'll need to do
Mhm.
to, to make some kind of change. Now, they've conditioned. They have socially engineered people, even up to the age of 60 years of age, who should know who are they would be baby boomers, right? Yeah, they'd be the baby boomers. They've even
Mm.
conditioned those guys now. They've got their little smartphones, little crack phones in their pockets now.
Yeah,
They're on
yeah,
TikTok. They're doing dances, Paul. It's fun. It's trendy. I'm down with the kids.
yeah. They've got us. They've got us. I don't foresee this getting any better. I really don't. And there may be pendulum swings, where there is backlash to the
Mm,
the obvious corrupt policies that get forced on us as a people. And there may be a party that gets voted in the future that just comes out of nowhere that promises to find the solutions to all these problems, but then it'll swing back the other way due to the extremes of that particular party, and it's just it's an illusion, isn't it? At the
it
end of the
is.
day, they're playing a mind game with us, and the trick is not to try and pick a side. And I think I don't have much hope for the world, and I don't think we can save it. And I know that I'm not trying to be defeatist here. I'm trying to be a Christian realist. It's kind of this world is corrupt and there's nothing new under the sun, and this has been going on since the start of time, and there are
Mm,
people out there with agendas against us,
yeah.
and violence is not the answer, but that's kind of where they want us to go. because violence gives them a solution. It gives
Yeah.
them a means to their ends, you know. And that's how they do this. That's why we have wars. That's why we have violence. Like I said, in Birmingham city centre, they want the reaction.
Hmm.
They want that reaction, so then they can point the camera at the reaction and say,
Yeah.
"Look at this evil act over here, and we need more of the thing that caused the problem because this
Indeed.
proves that it is." That's the point. So we're kind of trapped in a way,
Yeah. Really are
and
totally trapped.
I try as a truther to stay out of the black pill, red pill game, which often is a more of a politics type thing.
Yes.
The conservatives are doing this, the Republicans are doing this, or the liberals, or the whatever it is,
Mm.
the left right paradigm game that tends to be what most truthers start falling into initially.
Yeah.
And when I came off of YouTube for 5 years because I had to, and got out of
Yes.
the conspiracy clown game, I tried to just stay away from the biblical conspiracy truther stuff,
Mm.
and I ended up falling into listening to people like like Podcast of the Lotus Eaters, like Sargon of Akkad,
Yeah.
Paul Joseph Watson type characters,
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
type of people, and the Stephen Crowder types,
Oh, yes,
and
yes,
they're a very
yes.
specific type of truther channel. They're not
Mm.
really truthers. They're kind of stuck in the alt media
Indeed.
controlled opposition style truthers. And I'm
Yes.
not saying they are necessarily intentionally controlled opposition, but I'm saying the paradigms they're arguing about and discussing and exposing are actually what they want you to be involved with.
Of course,
Yeah,
people.
you're not really exposing anything. They want you arguing about these things and fighting with each other and divided, and that's kind of the point. So
Yeah.
I tried. I got angry about the immigration stuff. I've been there. I've gone down. I've seen where those thought processes lead, and I didn't like what I was becoming. Do you
Hmm.
get what I mean? And I
Yeah.
realized that's where they want me. That's what they want me to be.
Hmm.
And I detach from that now, and I try to stay above it all. But I'm a human, and I have to live in this country, and I still get I you can't help but have a visceral reaction to seeing
Yeah.
your home be
Mm.
destroyed.
Totally destroy. As you say, just driving around, as you say, in the 90s, going into your local town center. It was a fun experience going
Mm.
to Wimpy, or maybe were you, was Wimpy around when you was young?
Well, no, but we had a classic McDonald's everywhere.
There we go. There we go.
KFC, McDonald's, the usual places. Burger
Yeah.
King. I used to enjoy going to the Burger King with my mates. You know what I mean? Just and most of them worked there. In fact, throughout their teenage years, it's one of the best
Yes.
ever things.
The old double whoppers.
Yeah, getting all the free burgers at the end of the night. You know what I mean? Because your mate became the manager there or something like that. It's kind
This
of
is
and
it.
it's things funny because I was talking. I know this is going way back, but me and my wife were talking today about how fun McDonald's used to be,
Mm.
and how colourful it was with the play
Yeah.
area with the free balloons when you came in on a plastic
Yeah.
stick, and it's kind of we were sat in there today, and we're like, this is so drab and
Yes.
dull and cubed
Yeah.
and black and white and boring and just like
Corporate.
it's not an exciting place, But I remember when I
No.
was a kid, you'd be like, "This place is nuts!
Yeah.
Like this place is wild, and
The
colorful." And
yellows and the reds.
yeah, and it says a lot about that tends to be what they've done to us. They've sucked the life out of everything, and everything's utilitarian rather than made for the beauty of or for the sake of fun.
Mm.
And again, that's something else. That's just something else we're talking about there. But I used to enjoy walking to town as a kid. Look, I was blessed to have this path, which was like a 2 mile long path, which went from my back gate, the field behind my house. I could just get onto it quite easily, and then it's just a straight walk into the town centre, to the
Wow.
park, and it was beautiful to walk down and everything. But I went down there recently because I've not lived there in a while, but I went back to visit family, and it's kind of like they've built like a bypass over the path halfway down the middle of it and cut down loads of trees. It's
Oh,
really, it's kind of like everything's changed,
depressing.
and
Yeah.
and to be honest, now I wouldn't even dare to walk down there
You
probably
see?
anymore,
Yeah.
and let alone go to the park in the city
Mm.
centre. You kidding me?
Yeah.
Like no chance. That's so
Yeah.
dangerous, But as a kid, it wasn't a thought, and it wasn't dangerous, and it
It
wasn't
w-
like.
the woes we had as children was just stranger danger in essence.
Yeah.
When about obviously, a dude, looking a bit strange. Outside of that, there was no gangs of youths hanging around making you feel unsafe or harassing you or trying to attack you or nothing. There was just children, older teenagers and stuff. They was just doing their thing. You just go to the park, play on your swing, whatever, go to town, catch the bus. Simple. Life was just so simple. Then
Hmm.
you get a bit older and you learn to drive, and you're able to visit those same places and pay your parking.
Oh, have we lost him? I think we may have lost you there. Noble, give me 1 second. Let's see what's going on. Noble, I don't know if you can still hear me. It says you're still connected, but maybe your microphone came unplugged or something there.
Still want any blind spots, people?
Oh, there we go. Sorry, you cut out there for some reason for like 30
Oh,
seconds.
oh, apologies,
You the,
apologies.
the last thing you said was you pull up to the parking at the where
Oh,
that's,
okay.
that's the
So
last
you
thing you
pull,
said.
so you pull up and you pay your parking and stuff, and you're able to actually navigate around. The town centre, Birmingham, Bristol, etc., Nottingham. But now in the Gregorian year of 2024, they've blocked all the roads off.
Hmm.
They've made it all pedestrianised to stop you as the car driver, the one paying road tax, insurance, and all the rest of the bits, and paying these astronomical. It used to be 50 pence to park. Now it's like £7 odd. £7 odd for like no, 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 no. Let's not over exaggerate. That's it, like in the mailbox. Where it was 50 pence, it's now £5.70 for an hour.
Hmm.
Like, what are we talking? What are we doing here? The CCTV element of it, they've knocked all the subways down, so there's no more subways, so you can traverse the metropolis of roadways that they've created. They're knocking everything down so CCTV cameras can watch you. There's no hidden spots anymore. We want to track everywhere you're going. We want to see your movements. You're our little you're 1002.4.
Well,
And we want to see what's going on.
yeah, this kind of goes hand in hand with the agendas for the future. Anyway, they want us locked in small 15-minute cities, as they call them, where you're not actually. I think, what were they trialing? Or they've trialed this in certain places. Maybe,
Oxford.
was it in
Oxford.
Oxford? Yeah, where you,
Yes.
you have to have a pass to be able to
Yeah.
leave your 15-minute area or
Yes.
something like that, and you're only allowed to do it so many times a year. And it's kind of and if you commute, you're screwed basically. Like it's kind of
Yes.
it's like what in the Orwell 1984 is this? You know what I mean? Like what is going on here? Like, and people are just allowing it. Like I can't
Ah.
I can't understand. And have you noticed as well? This is another just a tangent, but have you noticed the push to get us to electric cars?
Oh my gosh, of course. Of course. Have you driven an electric car yet, Paul?
I've not, no, I've not. But me and my wife are moving house soon, and it turns out that we're getting a brand new build. Okay,
Hmm.
and it's not that exciting. We're getting it through social housing because
No,
well,
no, it'll be a
because
nice build.
yeah, because
Wade or someone. Yeah,
yeah,
they'll
yeah.
go.
Well, we're getting this new build, 3 bed, and as standard, it comes with an electric charging port.
Yes.
It's
That's the rules
standard.
now. That's
Yes,
the rules
this
now.
is what I mean, and it's kind of I've realized most products like it's organic, isn't it? Like
Yeah,
people started driving cars because they were faster than horses. It was
indeed.
natural progression, and
Yeah.
it's but the push for electric cars, there's nothing organic about this.
Nothing.
They are literally propagandizing and pushing it. They're giving them away as prizes on the radio, and it's kind of they want you driving an electric car. You listen
Yeah.
to your local radio station, 97 point whatever, you know what I mean? And it's like whether it's Hits FM, Hits Radio, Rock FM, or whatever you want to say, they'll always say something like, why don't you just try an electric car? You
Mm,
might like it. Yeah, like they're literally just telling you buy an electric car,
yeah.
buy an electric car. They may as well just do that for 30 seconds straight. You know what I mean? And then they're saying things like, fuel's going to be too expensive soon. You're not going to be able to
Yeah.
afford to drive. And these things are just bad for the environment. Don't you know? Like petrol and diesel is bad for the environment. And it's
Yeah.
kind of like, oh, your social credit scores coming in. You don't want your CO2 scores to be too high. You may as well switch to electric now, get ahead of the curve. And it's kind of, well, that's just the ability to run a vehicle on fuel is freedom compared to them just being able to switch your car off without you having any control over it. You know what I mean? It's kind of it's like the whole cash for contactless stuff. Having cash helps you pay for things when the government one day decides to turn off or shut down your bank account or your cards or something like that. And I feel like it's this the same thing with these electric cars. You want to you want to drive away from the police, do you? Now we'll just shut your car off. We'll just turn it off with our remote control. You know, what I mean? Like
Yeah.
let's see how far you get now. You know, it's that type of thing, isn't it? You know, and I don't
But
know. It's scary,
the,
man.
it's very scary. It's very scary. Now they are quite nice to drive. I will say that they've
Oh,
got a lot
sure
of
they are.
technology and stuff. But nothing beats. I mean, I have access to an automatic uh transmission and a manual, and I enjoy having the option of, you know what, I actually want to drive this vehicle,
Hmm.
to go in the manual and drive it, and to put petrol in there or put diesel in the automatic. With the electric, I understand the propaganda, because you know you're a bit young for this, Paul. But Captain Planet, you know, he was out there saving the day. Don't pollute the environment, which I'm all about, not polluting the environment and all that kind of stuff. But man-made climate change, I've got some major questions about that. And also in regards to electric vehicles, like just the infrastructure is nowhere near where it needs to be for this to even be a realized manifestation in the
No.
three-dimensional realm. There's not enough infrastructure in any part of the world. California's got an extensive, from what I hear, network of Tesla chargers,
Hmm.
government backed. I mean, look, people, you know that you know, especially Americans, you're paying for Tesla to be this the quote unquote success of the electric car market. You're paying via the government lobbies and all this stuff and blah 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 blah. You're paying for Tesla. Was it like $30? I can't even remember what the actual figure is, but they are paying for Tesla to be in existence,
Yeah.
along with SpaceX. Like it's a joke. And then
Absolutely.
there's a graveyard of electric vehicles, because once the battery's done, it's going to cost you, how much is it going to cost to replace the battery? Like 20, 30K?
Well, that's all your car is. It's just one big battery on wheels.
Yeah.
It's just think you haven't got a car without the battery, and then those batteries pollute. You know, it's like
Hmm.
it's extremely toxic waste. You know,
Very.
and then you have to mine the lithium to make these batteries, which destroys the environment as well. And then just to generate the electricity necessary to charge
Thank you.
all these cars now, which are now
Thank
everywhere,
you.
which run on electricity, you've got to burn fossil fuels, right? You've got to burn coal. You've got to set up nuclear power plants, which
Well,
and
Paul,
I don't think nuclear's that bad, to be honest. I think that's what we need to be switching to. But you know,
yes. No,
it's hypocrisy at its finest. You
no,
know.
no, we've got all hypocrisy. We have to highlight this. It's not coal. They're chopping down virgin forests in British Columbia, Paul, putting it onto ships in the form of wooden pellets, shipping them thousands of miles to Britain to burn, to create energy. That's what they're doing.
You've got to laugh, haven't you? It's
Oh,
just the logistics behind this thought process is ridiculous, and you that's what you have to realize. This isn't about saving the
no.
planet. This is an agenda. They want you driving them for a reason.
Hmm.
And the reason's always the same: control.
Hmm.
It's that's all it's ever about, you know. And I feel like I'm gonna have no choice eventually to drive an electric vehicle because there won't be engines around anymore. Like
At some point, you're gonna get real old when that happens, Paul. Most likely, willing, you'll be about 70. Ah, it looks like we're gonna have to go get one of those electric cars.
I know, I know, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I've been one of those people who held on to the flip phone for as long as possible. It's the
This
same thing,
is
isn't it? You know, I'm not getting one of
yeah.
those smartphones, you know. But I don't
I
know.
res-
It's the principle of the matter, you know.
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. And like I said, and this is the thing. Like you know, my brother-in-law is an electric car, and yeah, they are nice.
Hmm.
They're nice. They are. That's how they get you. That's how they get you. You know,
Yeah.
give you the poison with a bit of honey, don't they? You know, and
Mm,
I understand. I do understand the appeal, and I think you remember when hybrids were a thing, and
yeah.
everyone and all the smug people were getting them, thinking they were better than everybody else, and it was more like a gimmick back then. But
Yeah.
now it's past just being a gimmick now. It really is, and don't get me wrong, it's also a status symbol for a lot of rich people.
Of course it is. But the going to your hybrid point, I think that technology is I haven't actually driven one yet, but I think the technology in it is quite valid to a
Oh
point.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
I
can
I
get that.
get that, and this is all about the nothing new under the sun, but advancements of quote unquote technology. Why not have a battery backup so when you are going through town, the battery kicks in? I'm all for that. But
Yeah.
don't try and push it and jam it down our throat, get a damn IV and say flipping electric car, put our eyelids open like my guy out of Clockwork Orange. Electric car, electric car. No, we don't want it, man. Give us the choice. Isn't it about choice? Free will?
Yeah.
Hmm?
Yeah. Well, they try and maintain that illusion that you're choosing this.
Yeah.
You're choosing to be a better person. That's how they do it. That's how they get it in these adverts. But I don't. Anyway, moving out of England a little bit, there is a couple of things I did want to talk to you about,
Okay.
which just to get your opinion on, because you were talking about the absolute state of the world in one of your recent podcasts with
Yes.
one of your mates, and you were talking about some of the vile things like young people get up to sexually in bathroom stalls,
Mm.
which was just unheard of when you were that age. It's like you wouldn't even dream of doing that type of thing.
Yep.
And we don't have to get into the graphic details
Indeed.
necessarily, but you got me thinking about just what some people will actually do in this world without
Mm.
any conscience or remorse. And my wife was telling me today about a horrible story, which has just broke out over the past few days, about a woman. I think she's from. I want to say Idaho, maybe Idaho or Ohio. I think she might be from out Ohio. I can't, don't quote me on this, okay?
Okay.
But you can just Google the details and the story will come up about what I'm about to tell you. But she basically went on holiday for 10 days. I think it was to Puerto Rico or something with some male friend of hers. She's a
Mm.
32-year-old woman and she left her 16-month-old
Oh, yes.
child.
I heard about this insanity.
She left her child in the crib for 10 days with 3 bottles of milk.
Yep.
And when she
Yep.
came back,
Yeah.
the child was obviously covered in urine,
Yep.
feces in
Yeah.
the mouth, was eating it,
Mm.
emaciated,
Yeah.
sunken eyes, blue, dead. The baby was dead, and the baby only died just before she came back as well. So that baby suffered for
Mm.
10 days and died of starvation,
Mm.
just because she wanted to go on a holiday for a bit of dick.
Yeah.
And that's I'm being brutal with the words there for a reason, because that's how shallow and
Yes.
ridiculous and stupid that woman was. And as a father, of a child who's like 2.5, it's kind of how
I
how
know.
can what was she thinking?
Clearly not.
And she tried to pin it on, oh, well, I have mental health problems, stress, all these type of things. It's
Nope.
kind of like trying to play the sympathy card,
Nope.
and it's kind of you couldn't have called the father.
Hmm.
You could. How much pride do you have to not call the father of that child, saying, just, I'm going away. The baby's at home. Come get them or something. Or could you not have got your parents to look after
Friends.
the child? And what was it exactly that was? She had every opportunity
Yes.
to cover for that child, and she
Mm.
didn't. She just completely ignored them. And
Yes.
now this 16-month-old baby is dead
Yeah.
for the sake of a holiday.
Mm. Yeah.
And there's pictures of her celebrating on the holiday, having fun with her mates and all
Mm.
sorts of things. None of her friends even questioned her,
Yep.
and it's kind of,
Associates. You couldn't even. That's not. They're not friends.
ugh,
Come on. Let's look at this in two separate ways. Let's look at this. Let's unpack this in two separate ways. So the first way is from from the veneer, based upon the article and based upon how some of the things we've touched on. Um, the baby is an accessory. That's all the baby is to that being.
hmm,
It's it has no emotional spiritual attachment to that life which is no longer here,
hmm,
trustfully in the bosom of our Abba. But um for her, it's YOLO. YOLO.
yeah,
You only live once. I'm gonna party like it's 1999. I got my purple boots on. I've got my crack phone. I'm taking all the damn lives for the Instagram, the Snapchat, all the modern social medias. I'm living my best life because that's all I've been told to do. It's on the music, it's on the films, it's been marketed and portrayed to me. My friends, my so-called friends slash associates, they're not checking me and actually holding me accountable for my actions. They're saying, "Go, girl, 10 days, come, let's go, let's do it, man. You got your passport, let's
Hmm.
go." Oh, you got a baby. I didn't even think. Oh, you got a baby. I didn't even think. I forgot. I forgot that you had a big belly for 9 months, and blah 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 blah. I totally forgot. Didn't even ask you about the babysitting arrangements. It's all about having fun. Now let's look at the spiritual side of it. I can only hypothesize, but there's only I've tried to make sense out of nonsense by what I've said previously.
Hmm.
Now, me hypothesizing on the spiritual element, I can only think that she must have been inhabited by some kind of demons,
Hmm.
literally.
I
She's a
agree.
walkthrough. She's literally a walkthrough where demons are just
Hmm. It's like it's dropped off again, guys. I'm sorry about that. I don't even know if he can hear me right now, to be honest. But I'm sure he'll randomly just pop back in a minute, and we'll take off from demons. I'll definitely take off from that talking point. But yeah, I don't think Noble can hear me. I'm not sure what's going on. If anyone's interested, we're using a new software. We decided to go with Google Meets. I got a 1 month free trial, so I have unlimited 24-hour calls on this and everything, and I'm just trying it out for this show. And so far, these couple of
2024.
dropouts. Yeah, sorry, Noble, it happened again. We lost you for about 30 seconds. um, we went off from demons. She must be inhabited by demons, and that's where we left you. Nope, still lost him. Um, I don't think there's anything I can do on my end for this either. To be honest, I think it's literally just a case of waiting. Noble, you with me? Can you hear me?
There we go. We're back again. Apologies. Did you hear any of that?
uh, I was keeping track. You said the only thing I can think of is actually he literally has demons running through her. So that's the last
Oh,
thing I
oh
had.
my God. Okay, okay, I'll go back then. So, yeah, she's literally a walkthrough. Again, I'm hypothesizing another option to put onto the table. She's been inhabited by one, multiple, whatever it may be, to the point where she's not thinking because there are wicked, evil people out there. We know this, but we get to levels like how wicked can a human being be? How
Hmm.
wicked can mankind be? Like, so then we've got to look spiritually. Like, what's going on? Did something literally jump into this person? Is this person just been constantly inhabited for a whole long period of time to
Hmm.
make her do this unspeakable act? There needs to be, in my opinion, certain things. There needs to be a very strong message sent from the judicial system. Now, I know we're on YouTube, so I won't say what I want to say, but there needs to be a strong message from the government
Hmm.
across the world. If you kill babies, if you harm women, blah 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 blah, this is what happens. So for the people who are in their right mind or in their left mind for doing such a crazy thing,
Hmm.
there's a consequence to the action. As we've been discussing, a design, plot, and plan to destroy, to separate, and to divide. It's all in place. And on the spiritual elements, you got these, you got these beings, these spirits just jumping in. Here we go.
Yeah.
Let's use this one.
Well, she's clearly got something demonic. I agree. I mean, you just don't. You must have, or she's a psychopath who is void of real human emotion and just had zero empathy or understanding for the child she created. But
Mm,
you can watch the judge ruling on the whole thing in the final court where she got sentenced,
okay.
and the judge is crying,
Oh gosh.
and he's like he's saying this is the worst thing, and for what you've done to this child, you left it there isolated and let it die in the most heinous way possible is the same thing that's going to happen to you. You are staying in a cell for your entire life with no hope of parole or bail,
Mm,
and that's
good.
what he gave to her. You know what I mean? It's like
Mm,
there's no appeal for this.
yeah.
It's life in prison till you're dead. It's as simple
Yeah.
as that. You know, and like even her lawyer, you could tell didn't want to be there. It was like, you know,
Ooh,
that's the problem with lawyers. They have to even defend. They have to try and make a case for the worst people. You know, and you
so tricky, man. Devil's advocate. It's just so tricky.
yeah. And I don't. I think he. I think from what I saw, he did. He gave very little response or anything or any defense. He was like,
Mm.
"It's like, yeah, there's no hope for you. Like
Well,
this
what
is
was it?
happening." You know.
So, did she plead guilty to it though, or did?
I think she did. She called the
Oh,
from what I read, she called the police as soon as she got back, surprised that the baby was dead.
gosh.
You know, and but the thing is, she cleaned the baby up and dressed it before calling them.
Oh my, that may
So
that baby eternally rise in paradise. That is just, that's awful, man. That's
yeah,
awful.
yeah, and I think she did. There's an interview with her camera. I didn't get a chance to watch it all, you know, and it's you don't really want to, you know, when you get
No.
into these type of things. But from what I could tell, she was basically trying to say, you know, she's got mental health problems with stress and had a hard life or something like that. And her own parents are trying to defend her and ask the judge to give mercy to her. And it's
Mm,
kind of like even I can't even believe the parents are defending her.
y-
It's one of those. It's kind of like
yeah.
there's no defense for what she did. There's literally you've got nothing. You've got nothing. You know what I mean? Like and
Apart from blood ties, that's the only thing that because that is their blood, they don't want their blood to be in prison for the rest of her life. That's the, logically, that what
yeah,
else could you think? Because she's done it, you can't defend it.
yeah. But this is the thing. I couldn't imagine being a parent having to deal with your child doing something so horrible. It's a tough situation for anybody to be in. I understand, and you hear
Very.
stories, don't you, of like murderers or serial killers' parents dealing with the aftermath
Mm,
and what to do. You know exactly with that. I think I watched a documentary years ago about the mother of a psychopath who killed his own brother or something
wow.
like that, and even she you know she clearly has a torn relationship with him because it's a son at the end of the day. But the way
Mm,
she talks about him, it's like he's not a human being.
yeah.
Like he will charm you, he will talk to you, he will seem like a well put together person and a lovely person, you know, and he has that way, that psychopathic way of feigning humanity and
Hmm.
humility, but he's
Hmm.
not a human being. He does not see you as a person. He does not see, and she's like she knows her son, you know, and the way and it's
Yeah.
kind of it's just to be stuck in that realm, you know. I couldn't imagine it. I don't know what my reaction would be, but it's kind of just because they're family doesn't mean you have to defend them when they do something heinous. I think it's one of these
It's
things people.
yeah.
I don't know. Again, I couldn't speak on it because I'm so far removed from being put in that situation myself.
Indeed, and it's easy to talk from it from a place of not being in in the moment with it from this standpoint, based
Yeah,
upon no. For me, I'm stubborn. I am very stubborn, and I'm principled. And sometimes that can get me, lose some friends maybe. But look, if word is supposed to be your bond, that's it. You say it, you do it. If you've done it, you've got to suffer the consequences. That's it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, on this as well, there's another thing that's quite in the news right now. Have you heard of Ruby Frankie before?
No, I don't
Okay,
think so.
so she's a big I think it was Utah American YouTuber who had a YouTube channel called Eight Passengers, and she was a mum vlogger, vlogging
Okay.
her and her six children, her and her husband and six children, so eight passengers. You know what I mean? And the life of a mother of six, you know, that type of thing, and
Hmm.
just lifestyle vlogging, you know. And they're a Mormon family. And
Ah,
they've been around.
interesting.
They've been around for years on YouTube, you know. And my wife actually followed them. You know what I mean? And it came to light that so if my wife can explain this way better than I can, I think we need to do our own podcast on this because me and my wife
Yeah.
have a podcast called Tales Under the Big Top. And
Okay.
I think this could be a big episode that she can clearly explain to me. But
Mm,
this is just the gist of what I've
okay.
got. So I may miss a lot, get names wrong, and this could be all over the place. But I know enough to explain right now quickly as best
Yes.
I can just how horrible of a situation this turned out to be. But from what I gathered, Ruby got a therapist who was recommended to her by her brother-in-law or some obscure family member. And this therapist is not a real licensed therapist. She's more like a Mormon marriage counselor guru.
Okay.
Okay, who claims to come in and do marriage counseling for people to help Mormon marriages, you know, and
Hmm.
through a spiritual lens or something like that. Anyway, this woman's called Jody, and she runs basically a cult called Connections. All right. And from what I gathered is she convinced Ruby Frankie, the one who ran the YouTube channel, to kick her husband out the house. He was the problem or something like that. And then change her YouTube channel to be devoted to following this woman who runs this Connections thing. And they kind of became a duo online together and
Oh,
started pushing this Connections. I don't know exactly what they talked about, but it was weird. It's weird cult stuff, you know. And
yeah.
it's about self-betterment through the Mormon lens or something like that. But once the husband was out of the picture, it seems like this woman convinced Ruby. You know, I'm not absolving Ruby of her actions here because it gets really weird. So this is not like I think this Ruby Frankie was also a psychopath who was enabled. Okay, and found a way to get away with what she did in the end through this cult leader. It's kind of like birds of a feather flock together situation.
Mm,
They're all psychopaths, and
yeah.
they found a way to justify it using a religion as a cover, you know, to get away with doing horrible things. Anyway, two of the eldest children of the six passengers, the six children this Ruby Frankie had left because they grew up, got older, and were like, "I want nothing to do with this.
Okay.
Stay away from this. Is nuts. All right, you're losing your mind, mum." One of the, well, no, one of them went to college. The other one just cut himself off and left. Okay, but then the two middle children, so the teenagers, went to go and work for the cult leaders' organization as cleaners and basically
Oh,
slave labor, something like that. But
wow.
obviously, all towards helping the cause of the Mormon Church or something. I don't know what it is, something like that.
Yeah.
But the two youngest children, so these I think these kids are like 12 and 8 or very young, even young, probably younger than that. I could get in the ages wrong. My wife might be able to tell me in the chat how old the two youngest kids were, but they were very, very young. You know, not able to understand type of young.
Were
You
these
know.
the ones, the children, and they were found outside by the police? And there's...
Oh yeah, I'm gonna get there now.
Oh, okay.
Anyway,
Okay.
it turns out they had been tying these children up. This woman, so the mother and this cult leader woman had been living together in Jody's house with these two kids. They had been starving the children, withholding food, not letting them sleep in beds,
Yeah.
tying them up with like ropes and stuff like that, and punishing them because they believed their behavior was of the devil and they're possessed by demons, and this is the only way to keep them in line. And the Ruby Frankie, from what I gather, has written a daily journal about the horrors she has done to these two children and that they deserve it. Okay,
What?
because they are evil. They are possessed by evil spirits, basically. And what she's doing is trying to excise the spirit. I don't know what she thought she was trying to do, but now these were just unruly kids as well, you know. So they were just kids being kids. One of them was still wetting the bed or something like that. You know what I mean? And they considered that a sign that they were still evil as well. And she basically
Oh,
abused these children, starved them, and heavily mentally and physically abused them, all under the edict of this cult leader telling her it's what she needs to do. But she went along with it, you know. And by this point, the father's out of the picture, isn't even keeping tabs. Clearly knew something was going on, but didn't get involved with dealing with it in any way. So he's to blame too, you know.
oh
And
yeah.
and the obviously the eight passengers things died out. No one had heard of the kids for ages. So online culture was like, what's going on? This is weird. And even they were reporting, you need to check out this family. Something's up with this family. You know, they were going to the police, and viewers were going to the police, you know, saying, you need to investigate this woman online and her family. Like, we're the kids. And, all. And anyway, what it took was the youngest boy to escape, go to a nearby neighbor's house, and ring the doorbell and say, can you take me to the police? I need to go to the police. And this guy looks at this child in front of him who's like a skeleton with things wrapped around his wrists and ankles. You know what I mean? Like bandages and stuff like this. And he's like, just sit down. What's going on here? And his wife's like, called the police. And they're on, you know, then you've got the ring doorbell footage of this happening, you know, and like the woman's like saying, I've got this kid here. He looks awful. And, you know, the old man's like breaking down crying, trying to describe this kid. He says, I think this kid's been abused. You know, what's going on here? And the guy says, why do you need to go to the police? And the kid says, oh, it's personal business.
Ooh.
All right. It turns out this kid wasn't trying to escape, right? This kid was trying to turn himself into jail because that's where he was told by his mother repeatedly where he belonged.
Oh my
So he was
God.
actually trying to do something good for his mother by removing himself from her life and sending himself to jail. It's not that he needed the police because he needed help because he was being abused in his
Wow.
mind. The way he perceived the world at that point was that he is a bad person who's
Yeah.
full of demons and I need to go to jail. So I'm going to take myself to jail and help my mum because he tried to do it in the past and explained in he was left outside to sleep by his mother. His mother woke up, saw he was gone, panicked. The kid had left a note for her in pebbles on the floor saying, um, taking myself to jail. Will call you when I get there. Because, like I said, he believed he deserved to go. He believed he was a bad kid. He
How
believed.
old is he? How old is the
I
little
think.
boy?
I think 8 around that age,
Oh
8,
my
maybe
God.
10 or something. He was the older of the two children, but the young girl who's like 7 or 8 years old, again very young or something like that. She was found by the in the same home after obviously the police got involved and raided the house and everything. And she was like in a cupboard in the dark, just sat on the floor. And it took 4 hours to get her to come with them. Because even she said, I'm a bad person, I deserve to be here, all this type of thing. That
Mm.
she's a demon, you know. And they basically brought her pizza. It took her like 2 hours just to even eat the pizza. And apparently, even after that, it took her about 7 days afterwards to start even talking and explaining
Goodness.
anything. And
Trauma.
it's like these kids have been abused and traumatized by a
Yeah.
psychopathic woman
Mm.
who did nothing, by the way, but monetized these kids for years by making videos about her family and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
And it's heartbreaking. The whole thing is heartbreaking. And get this, you know, she has basically been given 4 consecutive sentences of 15 years because she took a plea deal. But the way Utah law works, from what I understand, is she has to serve 1 year of each sentence. So that's 4 years.
No.
And then she's allowed to appeal. And
No.
then if she on good behavior, she will probably get out. because
No. That
she
can't be real.
because she took a plea deal, which means that she'll testify against the cult leader.
Oh. But wait a minute. Wait. So okay, you may not have all the details. And that's to me that implies that the cult leader was involved, or there's greater plans for this cult leader with other cases, then possibly.
Maybe, but I think she's been doing this for a while, conning families, getting them to give her loads of money, you know, and follow her and support her business, which is Connections, this cult organization, you know, all in the name of charity and spirituality and God and Mormonism, you know, and it's like, you know, work for me and you'll help the Mormon cause type of attitude, and this Ruby Frank is trying to play it off that, oh well, I was mentally manipulated by a psychopath, you know, and trying to play innocent. But you read these journals, it's like you were not innocent. You knew what you were doing. You know, you are, yeah, you're just a child abuser through and through.
Chilling
You know,
it.
yeah,
Yeah,
journaling it.
that's sick.
And from what I also believe, this my wife told me, she documented that the writings in these journals are not to be revealed until they're made scripture, or something like that. So they thought what they were doing was of God, and that this would become the new scriptures of in the future, or something like that. They were truly lost their minds, and from what I gather, her and the cult leader were arrested, and they were in the car together, being moved to the next thing. And the cult leader was like, "Don't worry, we'll have our day in court," and all these type of things. And this is what Ruby Frankie said her last interaction with this cult leader was, in the police car being arrested. And it turns out anyway, this cult leader just denied everything and said it was all Ruby. She did it all, and that's why now Ruby's like, okay, well, I testify against her. This is her fault or something like that. So I don't know. It's just a huge mess. It's all public right now. Everything about this has gone public, and it's just awful. The pictures and images have come out of the state of these two children, and their flesh is missing on their wrists and on their ankles. And it's rotting away from them being tied up for so long. And they look like skeletons. You know what I mean? These kids have been abused in the most horrible of ways, and the abuser's practically going to get away with it. I don't know. I don't know what else to make of that. Really, it's disgusting. Anyway, I think I have lost. I've lost you there, haven't I? I'll get you back. If you followed the link I sent you in the email, you should be able to hop back in there, Noble, and we should be good. Yeah, there we go. Have I got you back?
Wonders of technology.
But anyway, you get the gist of that story I've just told there. This woman's going to get away with it practically, and these children were hideously abused. And it's just another sign of how mad the world is. Next to this woman, obviously leaving a child there for 10 days, and it's kind of maybe you
It's
can talk about
mind-boggling.
maybe you can talk about this on your now I've brought it up to you, but
Yes, no, I will because I didn't know the level. All I remember seeing is the footage of the chest camera, like finding the children and stuff. I was thinking, well, what they've clearly been abused and stuff, but I didn't know the level
hmm,
of what you've got into. Most definitely, I'm going to go into a lot more detail on that. That is awful. That is, and it's making me question, based upon the two stories that you've just told, sorry. The differences is the connection to the LDS.
hmm, yeah. Well, my wife made a point. This isn't all Mormons necessarily that do this type of
Oh no,
stuff.
no, no,
You
definitely not.
can't paint a broad brush like that, and that's true. But this woman particularly used religion as a
Yeah.
means to an evil end, and that's what narcissists do, isn't it?
Mm,
They use these. Well, God told me to do it type of excuse, and it's messed up, man. It's really, and I think these stories hit me harder now. I'm a parent myself.
I can imagine.
You
I
know
can
what I
only
mean? And
imagine. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't. You don't know. You just what your heart breaks.
It does to children. The most, because I remember. Obviously, I'm a lot older now, but I can remember being a child. I remember the innocence and the
Hmm.
energy and the respecting your elders and stuff, and just knowing that if someone's older than you, that you're supposed to, it within reason, you should trust them. They're going to protect and help you ultimately. But flipping out.
Hmm.
So your own mother, and to the journaling of it as well. That's again like outside of the cultish leader manipulating this woman. Like that's not normal. There's manipulation and there's manipulation. You're gonna
Hmm.
do that to your children. Like again, I'm talking about spiritual effort going on there.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, she was accusing her children of being possessed by demons. She was the one possessed by demons.
Yes, yes.
Clear as day. The
Mm,
spirit behind her actions was one of child abuse. Okay, who has the demonic spirit in them when you think about it. And someone said in there, if anybody offends these little ones, it's better that a millstone be cast around their neck and thrown into the sea.
exactly.
That's what the Bible makes
Yes,
clear about these things. It's kind of if
yes.
if you have the capacity to
Mm,
do that, it's probably more than just demons.
yeah.
Okay, demons influence. They don't make you do stuff. All right. And it's kind of, that's how this really works at the end of the day. That's how it's influence, not true manipulation and possession. In extreme cases, I suppose you could say people can get possessed and literally get taken over and end up doing these things, but she made the choice to do that, and it's kind of, if these people have the capacity to do that to their own
Mm,
kids, maybe it
mm.
is better that they're just removed.
Yeah,
You know?
agreed, and that's an excellent point. That it's not just a case of, I mean, there are some cases, as you say, where it is there is potentially where this person has no way of not doing what they're doing, but a lot of the times, it's an open vessel. You have a connection there. There's something there that's driving. There's something that's saying, give me an extra bit of momentum, and I'll go there. I just need that
Yeah,
momentum.
yeah, absolutely. So there we go. We can end on a horrific note there, Noble.
Mm.
We've hit the 2 hour mark. We've gone for
No
a
problem at
while.
all.
Uh,
Yes,
this has been a really great talk. I enjoy connecting with you. It's nice to talk to a fellow Brit as well, which I really appreciate.
likewise.
Before we close this out, do you have any closing statements you want to make, and then do you want to just share with the guys where they can get you, where they can follow you, and I've got all your links in the description to this video that I could
Perfect.
find. But I'll leave
Excellent.
it to you for any closing statements
Yeah.
and any promotion you want to do, and then we'll close this out.
Wonderful. Well, firstly, thank you for carving out some time. Your busy schedule. I know you're doing lots and bits and pieces.
Typical. We've lost him again just at the critical moment. I'll try and go back through this live stream after the fact, and I'll cut out these moments of weird silences that appear. Um, there's always some technical difficulties, guys, and I think I've learned a lot about this particular program. It doesn't work, so maybe I'll have to try Streamlabs next, give that one a go, and then we'll go to StreamYard after that, and then we'll try Zoom and, and the rest. But let's see if Noble can join us again in the typical 30-second fashion. We'll
Prep
see what.
for the future.
Sorry, Noble. Start again. We lost you there
Oh,
as soon as you began.
mm.
We lost you.
Okay, from the top,
From
from
the
the
top.
top. Be the best version of you every single day. Tomorrow is not promised. Grasp every single moment that you
This is just not meant to be today, is it, guys? I'm so sorry. I honestly have no idea what's causing this. But when Noble comes back in, I guess we'll just get him to quickly promote his links, and I think we're gonna have to leave it at that. This technology is not playing ball, unfortunately. I think you guys can still hear me just fine, can't you? In the chat, let me know if that's the case in the chat. If I'm just fine, and this is just a Noble problem. But yeah, this is just, it's not meant to be, is it? It's clearly not meant to be. So apologies there, but I'll get Noble just to close that very quickly when he comes back to me. Any minute now, I'm sure he'll just pop through with some closing statements. uh, anyway, guys, if you have enjoyed this show, obviously I'll be back in the middle of the week. I think I am going to be doing something with Mark Steves from My Family Thinks I'm Crazy podcast on Wednesday. That'll be 8 p.m. UK time, 1 p.m. Uh, Pacific time, and I think that's, what's that? It's 4. Is it 4 p.m. Eastern time, depending on the time zone? I think that's right, 4 p.m. Eastern. And I think he's got a new podcast going. He wants me to be a guest on, so we'll have that for you guys as well. That's coming up. But yeah, it looks like I may have lost Noble there from the CFR. Um, yeah, I've lost him. He's no longer in the thing. So if he wants to join back in and quickly close off, we can try our best to do that. Have I got you there again, Noble? Right, so I think what we've learned is this software is terrible. I won't be paying for this service. But have I got you there? Can you hear me? Nope, I've still got nothing. I've still got nothing coming from him. That's too bad. Um, Nope, nothing from him, guys. Yeah, this isn't working out. Uh, on behalf of Noble, I will say go check out the links down below. I have everything for his podcast network there. He does do podcasts on obviously iTunes, Spotify. He does post them, I think, occasionally on YouTube as well, so you can see him there. I think he's also on BitChute. He's all over the place, but he is regularly posting his conversations with people of all walks of life, and they are great conversations to listen to. Absolutely, so go check out his work. He's a funny guy. You know, he's easy to listen to, and I've enjoyed having him on my podcast just to have a chat and a back and forth. And I hope you guys have enjoyed that too. I really appreciate it. I can see Nobles there in the chat saying thanks to everybody as well. We'll definitely have you back on again, Noble, if you can hear me. Thanks again for doing this. I really appreciate it. Yeah, but like I said, take it easy, guys. Thanks for listening. And as always, God bless.